Okay, in our last lesson, we dealt with the cranial nerves. Remember, those are just nerves that are going to basically control special senses, your eyes, your ears, your smell, and everything just basically above your shoulders. Well, we're going to look today at the rest of the peripheral nervous system, the spinal nerves. Spinal nerves, you've seen this slide before. Bring it back up here, just kind of identify a few parts. Guys, recognize this is the spinal cord, and off the spinal cord, you've got this part right up here, this dorsal horn. The dorsal horn, is the sensory side. Now, from this, you have little rootlets that branch off each segment. You can probably see them better off this one right here. This is the ventral horn. This is all motor. So, everybody, on this part right here, in the ventral horn, you're going to have the nerve cells motor nerve cells. The cell bodies are going to be here, and their axons are going to branch out through these little rootlets into the ventral root. This right here is the ventral root. On the opposite side, you have the dorsal root, and there's always a big bulge in the dorsal root. Right over here, same structure. It's the dorsal root ganglion. The dorsal root ganglion has the cell bodies of all your sensory nerves. So you can imagine here comes a message from your body. Like, say, for a Golgi tendon apparatus, Golgi tendon organ, coming to your spinal cord here, the cell body is located right here. So the rest of it coming in here is probably the dendrite. Here's the cell body, and then the axons branch out into this dorsal horn. Okay? So as a general rule, everybody, sensory neurons are going to have very, very short axons, but very, very long dendrites. And the opposite is true here for the motor neurons. The cell body is in here, so the dendrites are still right out in this area through here, through the gray matter. So you'll have very short dendrites, but very, very long axons. If this is going to go to wiggle your big toe, that axon might be, a full 3 feet long. Now, when this dorsal root, right here, joins the ventral root, we have right here, this part right here, is the spinal nerve. Off our spinal cord, we have 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Now, these spinal nerves form 4 plexes. Now, here's what we mean by a plexus. This diagram right here on the left side is just showing the spinal cord and how these nerves, branch off from the intervertebral spaces. So for the spinal cord, they come out, and the cervical area, those nerves will come off, and now I'm not going to test you on this or anything, but basically the first 5 spinal nerves, C1 through C5, come off and they branch together and form a cervical plexus. A plexus is just a grouping of these nerves that are going to go off to a certain region of the body. Okay? The lower ones, the ones from C5 through C8 and also T1, branch down here and form a brachial plexus. The brachial plexus is going to be basically bringing nerves down to your arm. And that brachial plexus will branch off into the radial nerve, medial nerve, going through your arm. Now, on a test, I'm not going to ask you to identify the nerves. That's a lot to do in this class. Just basically, I want you to learn, that we have 4 plexes, and a plexus is just a combination of several spinal nerves. Now, in the thoracic region, we have a special situation there. There are no plexes formed, in through this thoracic region. I'll discuss that on the next slide. But again, branching out the spinal nerves here, you have a lumbar plexus, which goes down the leg. and basically controls the nerves here that are going to control most of your leg and the outside of your leg. And the sacral plexus, coming off the sacrum, is going to be basically taking care of the inside nerves of your leg. Okay? Now, the thoracic region has a special arrangement, kind of unique. In the thoracic region, when the spinal nerves leave, the spinal nerve itself is only going to be about half an inch long. It's going to divide into two halves. It's going to divide into a dorsal rami and a ventral rami. Now here's what those are. On this picture, let's reacquaint you with some of the diagrams here. Here's your spinal cord, white matter outside, gray inside. The back side is the dorsal root. Here's the dorsal root coming in. Here's the ventral root. And this little spot right here, where the laser pointer's at, is only going to be about a half an inch long, and that is the actual spinal nerve. Then, almost immediately, it branches around to the back. Another branch branches around along the ribs to the front. Now, the dorsal rami is going to take care of all the skin and muscles on the back side. And that's both sensory and motor. Whereas the ventral rami, or ramus, is going to take care of all the nerves and muscles on the front. And again, it's going to run right along the ribs. Until now, we've been talking about nerves that basically sensory, motor. Well, now we want to focus our attention on nerves that work beyond our subconscious, below our conscious level, the autonomic system. We're going to look at the involuntary branch, things that we don't even think about. Now, the autonomic system is basically motor nerves. So they're going to go off and control some function. Now, for the sake of study, it's easy to think of these as two divisions. The sympathetic division and the parasympathetic division. Bottom line here, this is the autonomic nervous system, totally automatic. All right, on the next slide, I'll go through these two divisions. Now, the first one we'll go through is what you guys have all experienced. If you've ever gone up to give a speech and you're not into public speaking, you're in your speech class and you're all of a sudden, oh, I gotta do a 5-minute speech. Okay, your mouth goes dry, palms get sweaty, actually your whole body starts sweating, your heart races. Folks, you have just activated your sympathetic nervous system. Now, the way I always tell my class, remember this, think of this as the E system. This engages whenever you're in exercise, you're excited, there's an emergency, or you're embarrassed. All E's. If you think about what happens to your body during exercise, heart rate increases, blood pressure goes up, the blood vessels going to your muscles dilate, so you get more blood going to your muscles. At the same time, the blood vessels to your stomach and digestive system all constrict. So less blood going to those regions. You'll also find many times that the blood vessels near your skin surface will constrict. So you get a pale face. All these things are designed to get your body ready to fight or flight. Either fight harder for your life or run for your life. All right? Now, this system works right alongside and has opposite effects of the parasympathetic system. You've got to think of the parasympathetic system as simply housekeeping. This system is going here like whenever you eat a heavy meal. You just finished a big meal, you got to digest it. Okay? During this time, you're basically taking care of your body's needs. You're repairing everything from the fight or flight time. So I always tell my classes, think about this as the D division. D for digestion, defecation, or diuresis. That's a fancy word here for, that's the word that begins with a D for urination. It's during this time here that all those systems will, your kidneys will start working again. Because again, during the sympathetic division, if you're running through your life, your kidneys are going to get less blood to them. They're going to produce less urine. Because really, what's the point of making urine if you're going to die? So evolution has set us up here with a way to shunt blood to places where we need it, improve our vision. One of the sympathetic effects here is you'll see your pupils will dilate, letting in more light so you see better. Parasympathetic, things just shut down. Now, it's not one or the other. These two systems are working in our bodies all the time, to some degree. Hopefully right now you guys are all more in the parasympathetic mode.